it's the social media, what's on the demo reel. There's a lot of things that we're looking for, but in terms of what they can do coming out of college and what they can do earlier in their careers to open to open the eyes of agents who are looking at them, versatility is very key, right?
Welcome into episode 6 of Next Level Sportscasting. I'm Michael Watring, your host, and today we'll dive into the world of talent agency. And we're pleased to be joined by Seth Mayeri, who has over 3 decades of experience. He works with Napoli Management Group with Paradigm Talent Agency. And Seth, thanks so much for taking the time with us. How does one, and
Michael,
particularly
it's great to
you,
be here. Thank you.
yeah, of course, and how does one, particularly you, become a talent agent?
Well, my story is probably different than a lot of other people. I started in 1993, a few months out of college. I had been working for 1 month at Madison Square Garden. I had filled out a job application just being in Penn Station. I walked in and got a job. So I'd been there a month. And then a friend from college called me about a job and he said, "Are you still looking for work?" And I said, "Well, I'm at Madison Square Garden at night, but I need a job." And he said, "Well, there's a sports television agency and they need an assistant. It paid $6 an hour. They represent Chris Berman, Brian Leach from the Rangers. We represented hockey players as well as broadcasters back then." And I said, "I want this job." And I went in for the interview. And the guy who hired me is still to this day one of my closest friends. And that day when I interviewed, my boss was coming into the office as I was walking out, and he said, "Are you sure you want to work here? You have to look up to see the bottom at this job." And I said, "I want it." And it was videotaping, setting the VHS machines every night, the 8 or 9 VHS machines that were all made by different companies. So on the weekends, we had to set about 72 hours of video and write the stickers on the labels, what we were recording. It could be a Duke UNC basketball game, David Letterman, the Today Show, uh, World News Tonight, Jeopardy. We had to record so many different things. And that was one of the questions on my job interview. Can you operate a VHS machine? I said yes. And Adam Freifeld, one of my closest friends who hired me, said, "Can you start on Monday?" And I started the next week. And then 2 years after that, being an assistant, running to the bank to deposit checks of the athletes and some broadcasters, filing, doing the copies of the newspaper articles by the authors like Phil Mushnick and all the newspaper, Rudy Martzke, all the we had to do the packet of information. Now it's all available by the internet and Twitter and everything else now, but we had to photocopy those articles and distribute them. So it was an interesting time. It was a chaotic, fun office that I was in. And about 2 years after I started, Adam, who hired me, had moved on to another job out west, and I took over his client. So that's how I became an agent, just learning the business as an assistant, a $6 an hour assistant, going to the dry cleaners, sitting in the car for 2 hours while our boss was in the office and double parked at us, the fire hydrant. That's the kind of thing that we had to do. We had to go to restaurants and sit there while they were waiting for a broadcaster that they were going to meet with. I don't think I could ask somebody to sit at a fire hydrant now in a car. I'd probably get a call from somebody's dad if I did that today. So that's how I became an agent. Some of the other people that work with me now, Josh Cropper, David Lauterbach, they were working at CNN in the talent office, and we ended up hiring them, and they're terrific agents. Mike Eisenberg works here. He was a producer at ESPN and then Fox Sports Detroit, which became Bally Sports Detroit, FanDuel Sports Detroit. He became an agent after working as a sports producer. Brian Neal is in our division. He's a former news director. So there's a number of ways you can enter the industry. We had baseball agents when we were at SFX who would, like I said, sit in the car for Roger Clemens, and then they became baseball agents after that. You just had to put in the time. It's a little different these days with how you get in. Internships are important, obviously. I always tell people, if you want to be in this industry, do unpaid internships at CBS and ESPN and for the New York Knicks, and don't worry about getting paid working in a restaurant or as a lifeguard. If you really want to be in this industry, it's all about the unpaid internships. Yeah.
And looking at your career, you're now with Paradigm Talent Agency, which is a massive agency. But before
Right.
that, you had your own shop. So tell me some of the differences, the pros, the cons to
Yeah.
being on your own versus now being with Paradigm.
Well, we were with a massive company, SFX, and then we all got blown out of the company in 2005. SFX was spinning off to become Live Nation, and out of the blue, a lot of divisions were just let go because that was going on, had nothing to do with how we were doing. And then three former coworkers and I started Evolution and Evolution Media Talent when we were on our own. And then it was down to two of us at Evolution Media Talent on the broadcasting side. It's a lot different. I mean, the flow of information now is incredibly different. Obviously, if I needed any help on the legal side, something outside of work, I'd had to hire outside counsel. If I when I needed to edit, I had to hire an editor. When I was on my own, I had to do a lot of things that we needed a website. We had to pay a website guy. We needed direct TV in the office. The guys came. That's all different now, right? We have someone who edits we have a couple of editors in-house. We have attorneys in-house. So that's different. And just the fact that we have 10 agents who are representing sports and news talent, and we're constantly talking to people, right? So if we average 60 hours a week of work, 10 agents at 600 hours of information per week that we're getting from news directors, executive producers, teams, networks, talent executives, that we're in touch with. And we have this incredible database of information that we put everything into: who we talked to, when was the last time we texted with them, emailed with them, spoke to them, what was said, what are they looking for. Every day we get a list of jobs. And it's incredible. Like, if you're a broadcaster, you don't have access to that information that we have of the people that we're talking to every week from every different company and at every different level of title and stature: GMs, news directors, et cetera.
At STAA, there's so many questions about the world of agents, but one specific one is for you. How do you go about adding clients? Is it natural through social media? Is it natural through watching TV? Or do they reach out to you? How does that process work?
25, 30 different ways that we get our clients. From referrals. A lot of it is referrals. That's how we got a lot of clients in the past. I mean, back in the day, you would literally go to somebody's wedding in a small town and just be watching the local news in your hotel room, and you'd write down some of the people. There was no websites back then. So you'd write down who you'd see and then reach out to them by a phone call. And now, they're former athletes that I reach out to on Instagram, and they write back and we get into a conversation. I sign them. I was walking into Trader Joe's a couple of years ago, and I was like, I need a tennis analyst. I'm going to email Cece Bellis on Instagram. And I messaged her. Within 5 minutes, she wrote back. She said she wants to do broadcasting. And within a week and a half, she was at the Tennis Channel doing analyst work and play-by-play work. She's doing Wimbledon coverage for CBS HQ this week. And she's terrific. So that's how we get people. We reach out on the station websites. YouTube is a incredible tool for us. We find a lot of people on YouTube, but it's a very competitive industry. So we reach out to somebody on YouTube, and it's like they might say, "Yeah, you're the sixth agent that's contacted me," and they might be in market, 145, and we're like, "Wow, this used to be the case." If you reached out to somebody in a very small market, you're probably the first person reaching out to them. There weren't as many agencies back then. So we have to be ahead of the curve and aggressive with signing people that might be, a little early in their career for an agent, but like, we know that they're going to do great things, and we can help them with their demo reel, with their job interviews, and putting them in front of people, doing things that they can't necessarily do on their own. And I think that's the key to having a good agent behind you, is knowing how to interview with people, not wasting their time, really being efficient on interviews, and just the information that we give people, how to write emails. I can't tell you how many times our clients do interviews and they want to send a follow-up email to executive or news director, and they send me what they're going to write, and then I say, I changed it a little bit. Here you go, and they go, wow, that sounds so much better than what I was writing, and it's usually shorter and just more to the point, and they like it. And it's the same with demo reels. We get demo reels and we put reels together for our clients just based on the years of experience we have looking at reels, knowing what people are looking for. The people we're dealing with tell us what they want to see on demo reels. We just got a compliment the other day from an executive at ESPN who said that our demo reels or web pages are some of the best they've ever seen, just in terms of the layout and how easy they are to watch. And, that's really good to hear that. And we'll get demo reels of people, and I can't believe the order that they put the clips on. I'm like, the eighth clip is buried. It should be opening the reel. Sometimes they open with a shot that's not even with them on camera, and you have to like fast forward 50 seconds to see them. It's a lot of things that we do that are behind the scenes that people might not think about. And that's one of the benefits of having us behind you.
I do want to expand on that. And I know it's not simple for, let's say, local TV versus play-by-play versus color, hosting, sideline, etc. But give me a little bit of insight in terms of demo reel construction. What should people be looking at? How should they be constructing their demo reels?
I like demo reels that move a little faster. I like if it's a local sportscaster, sports anchor, studio host, et cetera, someone who's doing anchoring and reporting. Let's take, for example, that first 30 seconds, that first 45 seconds needs to show some variety. You're going to lose somebody after that first 30 seconds. If it's a okay live shot out at a football stadium and it goes on for 45 seconds, you're going to lose somebody, right? They're fast forwarding, looking for the stuff that they want to see. Really, like a 10-second opening clip of a live shot or a studio shot, introducing themselves, good energy, good pacing, the lighting is good, all of that. So I want to see a lot of stuff up front. I'm not saying put, 3-second clips where you're cutting your sentences off, but I want to see in that first 30, 40 seconds a variety of shots that show different things in the studio, out in the field, doing an interview with a coach, right? If it's someone who's covering baseball, I want to see, an interview with the manager. I want to see them hosting the show. I want to see them doing a live shot from, post game. So that's the way we construct demos, is very fast paced, shorter demo reels than they used to be. I remember back in the 90s, we'd put together 9-10 minute reels. Now we're having more like 3-minute demo reels, but we construct these web pages now where we also have, 3 different packages. We have a full anchor block of, the A block of sports anchoring that we put in there, might be 3 minutes, something like that. That's more for a newscaster. Actually, Sportscaster is just a full sportscast of anchoring with highlights. That's also in one of the videos. So for a play-by-play announcer, for sideline reporter, obviously different than sports anchor reporter. I like to see for play-by-play announcer, for me, it's simple. I want to see on-camera shots at the beginning, then highlights, right? So if you're a basketball play-by-play announcer, there's 6 or 7 plays that run anywhere from 10 seconds to 20 seconds of highlights, right? Something, the ball was turned over and it ends up in a 3-point shot, and then you're getting out of it, right? And then you're just doing a bunch of highlights. And then at the end, people do want to see 5-6 minutes, maybe more, maybe it's a full quarter of extended play where there's no interruptions. It's not edited. They want to see, in a boring blowout basketball game that's, 71-35 in the third quarter or the second half of a college basketball game. They want to see how you and the color analyst are handling this game, keeping people interested and what you're talking about, versus, a game that goes into overtime and it has 5. That's good too, but sometimes they want to see something where it's from a game that's not a great game, and how play-by-play announcer handles it. Sideline reporter, it's simple. Sideline reporting, we like to have different. I like to have different demos for each sport. That's the way I do it now, especially for play-by-play and sideline reporters. They have a football reel, they have a basketball reel, they have a baseball reel if they have it, if they're covering these sports. But that one piece of advice is you have to know these sports. If you were coming out of college and you don't know hockey and baseball, and you want to be a regional sports reporter one day or sideline reporter, that's going to hurt you, because that's where most of the sideline reporter jobs are these days, are in hockey and baseball. And I can't tell you how many times we hear from people when I say, how well do you know baseball? I never really watched it growing up, but give me a few weeks and I can learn it. And it's like the biggest red flag for me is when they say they can learn baseball in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's it's maybe the most difficult sport to learn. There's a lot of
Yeah.
intricacies to it, no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned it a couple questions ago about how things have changed in terms of market size, et cetera. And I know that there's not a simple answer to this,
Yeah.
but when does one need an agent?
I think it's a very complex question. I think, for example, if you are a former UCLA softball player and you want to do broadcasting and you did one, even if you've done no games, right? But if you've done one game and you did a really good job and we see it, we want to represent you, right? It could be a 2 hour game. That's all you've done in your entire career in broadcasting, but we want to work with you immediately. If you did a good job and this is what you want to do. You played for a Division I school in an interesting sport. You look good on camera. You sound good. Voice is good. Your pacing is good. All of that. You're talking about things in the telecast that are not just the basic. You're taking us inside the game. We want. So for someone like that, one game could be all it takes for representation. If you're working in local sports and all you've done is 3 packages that you've MMJ'd, you're probably not ready, right? You need to put some time into your career, 1 year, 6 months, get some anchoring, get some live shots, get some work in. It really, really depends. I mean, we hear from so many broadcasters every day, and we don't sign everybody, obviously, but for us it's really about, can we take this person to not just the next job but the next job after that. But in terms of when people should be looking, when we're ready to sign them, it's really all over the place. I'll give you an example. This guy Yao Bonsu is a client of mine. He was in college when I signed him. He had about 8 months of college to go, and if you go to YouTube and look at his demo reels from a couple of years ago, he looked like he'd been working in the industry for 7 or 8 years. His stuff was that good. And I wasn't just going to let him, start his first job or second job and then, try to sign him when 10 other agents are trying to sign him. So I signed him when he was in college. So we're signing people, earlier than we used to. It used to be you needed a couple of jobs, and then, in your third job, you're ready for an agent. Not anymore. We sign people. We know what we can do for somebody. I think, sometimes you're wrong, but for the most part, we know, okay, I can put this person in front of, directors, or this many executives at ESPN, and they'll get something. They'll get some work.
You mentioned that you do get a lot of correspondence, and I'm sure talent directors do the same, et
Yeah.
cetera. How do sportscasters separate themselves in now a highly competitive industry?
It's a lot of different ways. Obviously, the demo reel is important. Social media is very important. One of the first things that I do, and I'm sure every other agent probably does it, is we go to the Instagram account, and when we get a demo reel and a resume sent to us, so we go to their Instagram account, and if they have 1,000 pictures of just themselves smiling, it's like, okay, this person wants to be a sportscaster. But the people who are on Instagram and are talking about the stories they're covering, they're talking about sports, they're being opinionated, like that's what we want to see. So social media, and the number of followers obviously is important. We always hear about that. I never think that's that important, but people we talk to want to see this person needs at least 100,000 followers for them before we're going to hire them. So there's a lot of that. We're getting this fire drill. Sorry, I'm not gonna go. So that it's the social media, what's on the demo reel. There's a lot of things that we're looking for, but in terms of what they can do coming out of college and what they can do earlier in their careers to open to open the eyes of agents who are looking at them, versatility is very key, right? Someone who's not just shooting and editing and doing packages. If you can somehow find a way to do a podcast, even if it's unpaid, show us how you interview people. Do things that are unpaid, right? We tell this to play-by-play announcers all the time. You want to do some games? There's 3 games at $75. I know it's out of the way. You'll probably lose money with the gas and the hotel you're going to have to pay to go do it. But if you want to be a play-by-play announcer, they're going to hire you for these 3 games. Just do them. Who cares about what you're going to lose in those 3 games? I could turn this into something with the Big Ten network, possibly, because you're living in the Midwest and you're going to do a good job, and we could show. So, there's a lot of situations like that where you have to sacrifice to get something bigger, right? We tell people all the time, let us know when you're going to be in certain cities and we could set up interviews. Like, oh, I'm going to be in Dallas next week. I remember a story where a client of mine was about to take the job in Waco, Texas. She had an offer on the table, and I said, "What are you doing this weekend?" "I'm going to Dallas." And I said, "You're going to Dallas?" And it was for Friday. And I said, "Give me some time to set up a meeting." And it was a regional sports network in Dallas. And she met with them and they ended up hiring her. And it was just because I asked her where she was going to be. And they said, she came out of that interview and they said, "Hold off on that Waco offer. We think we're going to have something for her." And yeah, so that kind of thing does happen. You just have to be in the right place at the right time, but it helps to have us setting things up, introducing you to people, etc.
Yeah, and I remember my freshman year of college going around the room and everybody being like, "I want to be on Good Morning America. I want to be
Right.
Sports Center, whatever it might
The
be."
next Oprah. Yeah. Yeah. We hear all
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. And I know that it's very complex, but what kind of advice would you give to an incoming college freshman to set themselves up for success as they go through 4 years of college preparing for the professional world?
Yeah, I think they should try to do everything. You don't need to come in as a freshman and say, "I want to be on Sports Center one day," or "I want to be the next New Jersey Nets play-by-play announcer or a sideline reporter for, SEC football." You should say, "I want to try to do all of it," right? And you should write write articles about the golf team and show up at the tennis team's games and with a camera and shoot some stand-ups from tennis, right? So covering as many sports as you can, as many different things as you can, have a little sports talk show. Even if the school doesn't give it to you, just go on social media and just talk about put a microphone in front of you, a nice backdrop, and you can have your own sports show. So do as many things as you can, cover as many sports as you can. Like I said, we hear from so many people who, I'll give you an example, come out of an SEC school. They didn't know what they wanted to do going into college, and they fell in love with football. They go to the University of Florida, so they want to become a broadcaster, and they want to become a sideline reporter. And what sports do they know? Football, because they've spent years watching football. They wanted to go to University of Florida because they have a great football team, right? And then they've covered a little bit of basketball. So that we hear from them, and they want to be a sideline reporter, and they want to cover football, and they want to do basketball sideline reporting. Well, it's like everybody wants to do that, and the networks are using less and less basketball sideline reporters. So that's working against you. And then football sideline reporting is one of the hardest things to crack into. I mean, the people who do football sideline reporting at the high level in the industry aren't going anywhere. I mean, the people who are doing it now are doing it 15 years ago, and they're probably going to be doing it for the next 15 years. So how do you break into CBS and NBC and ESPN doing sideline reporting? Well, you might not get games right away, and it's going to take a while. So cover some other sports, do some minor league baseball, minor AHL hockey games, right? That's how you really break into the industry that way. If you're young and in college, that's what I would do. And anchor, report, do as much as you can. But writing is one of the key things, right? Being able to communicate, being able to write a package, being able to write a sportscast. grammar, sense of humor, personality, energy, all of those things are things that you can work on while you're in school.
You mentioned a scenario earlier where people sometimes are talking to six different agents. They have a lot of people reaching out. I want to kind
Yeah.
of turn the table on you.
Yes.
What quality should people be looking for in an agent?
I think that the biggest thing that an agent can provide, and I'm kind of hinted at this before, is doing things that you can't do on your own, right? If we could put a better demo reel together, that's something couldn't do on your own. We did that, being able to introduce you to people that you have no idea who these people are, right? We set up meetings all the time. People go to conferences, right? NAHJ is going on right now, and we're going to have people going up to the booths. We tell them who to talk to. We give them their background, tell them what to say when you talk to these people. It could be someone from Amazon. It could be someone from Apple TV who's there, ESPN. So a good agent is going to do things for you that you can't necessarily do on your own. And I think a lot of that, Michael, is like I said, not wasting people's time. When you're in a job interview, you have to really be you know, uh, you have to be cautious of people's time. You have to be, efficient in what you're saying and saying the right things. We tell people what to say. I had a client interview with a major sports network yesterday, and just an introductory meeting. We didn't know what was, what if they wanted to use him, if it was just a say hello meeting. So I said to him, you have to control this meeting. I said, we don't know what they're going to talk to you about. It could be 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It could be just a hello. I said, you need to control this. That is, you need to get on there with a lot of energy. You need to thank them for their time. And you need to say, this is what I'm doing now in my sport. This is what I've done in my career. This is what I can do for you. These are the languages I speak when I call games. And the call was extraordinarily well. And I got a call from the executive afterwards that they like him, and it might lead to something. But I'll tell you, we have some people who go on interviews, and over the course of a year, there's a handful of people who don't get jobs because of that interview. So we really need to prepare people how to interview, what to say. Sometimes they're flat. Sometimes the job involves something like shooting and editing, and they say to the person, "Yeah, I don't really want to shoot and edit." You can't do that. You have to say how much you like doing it, and you've done it. You're willing to do it. You're different than other people. You actually enjoy doing it. Even if you have to, lie a little bit about it, right? If you don't love shooting and editing, but you want this job, you have to say that you like doing it, right? I mean, then accept that that's going to be part of a job. It's not lying, but it's helping put you in a position rather than saying you don't like doing it, because you're going to be checked off the list pretty quickly.
You've obviously had a super successful career, being in this industry for 30 years. Give me some of your favorite success stories over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I signed Jenny Cavnar when she was in Flint, Michigan, as a weekend sportscaster, and she's the play-by-play announcer for the Athletics. They were the Oakland A's when she got the job. It's incredibly exciting, and in the off season, Jenny does a lot of basketball play-by-play, NBC Sports. She's done some games for the Golden State Warriors. So, I mean, that's to go from Flint, Michigan, to the play-by-play announcer of a major league team, first woman to call baseball games in a full-time role on television for a baseball team. It was incredible. And when she was in New York and made the rounds at the Today Show and the NBC's streaming news network, and every CBS Evening News did a story on her, and it was so much press, and it was really an incredible moment, and it deserved it. So Jenny, I have a young woman named Jessica Charman, who, when I signed her, she was a radio analyst for Charlotte FC Major League Soccer team. And right now, as of last week, or as of this week, she will be calling games for Apple TV, Major League Soccer, NWSL, USL. She called 6 games for Club World Cup and for the soccer tournament, TST. So all of that, and everybody's taking notice of her. Over the comments that the international fans had after she did Club World Cup were unbelievable. This woman knows soccer. Her pronunciation of names is incredible. she's one of the best play-by-play announcers we've seen. Give her more work. Like it was great, and it's really exciting to see that when you put somebody in these positions, and it just leads to one more thing and one more thing, and everybody's taking notice. So that that's an exciting one. Bill Spalding is a great example. He's has been the Devils play-by-play announcer for the last 3 years. Got it at a very young age. Also does high-end Olympic work for NBC Sports, football for ESPN, and he's not with the Devils anymore. Unfortunately, they made a change, but the people that he was auditioning against when he got the Devils job was a pretty high-end list of people, and Bill came out on top, and he's an incredible play-by-play announcer. So, Syracuse produces some incredible talent. We have a lot of clients who went to Syracuse, and the more the merrier when it comes to those guys. So yeah, those are a few examples. There's a lot more.
I'll get you out of here on this. Certainly things have evolved over time, but most
Yeah,
specifically the different streaming partners that are now getting into the mix. How
yeah.
do you navigate the evolution of the sportscasting industry?
Yeah, we absolutely love it. Anytime there's new people that are overseeing things, we like it, right? I mean, anytime there's Apple TV, Netflix is now having all these Women's World Cup and NFL games, so we really love it when there's new partners involved, as instead of just the same network that you're used to dealing with over and over again. So we really love it, and it's been exciting getting to know. And we know the people, right? The Kate Jackson and Annie, who used to work at E, who I've known for almost 25 years. They're running things at Netflix. So, it's good to connect with these people, and they're open to seeing talent, and they're excited to hear from us. And we've been putting people in a lot of these networks. We have a good number of people doing Apple TV, soccer, Amazon. There's been some work with Amazon, and hopefully with Netflix with Women's World Cup. So we love it. And then Yahoo and all the digital networks out there. There people are always looking for talent. It's a lot to navigate. We hear back from a lot of people that they're not looking for talent, which is but just part of the job. But reaching out to all these people every day, getting our clients to interview with them, and yeah, it's been great. We really like that, and we just have to be on top of everything, reading about who's in the mix for these rights, right? The Major League Baseball rights that were with ESPN all these years. We have to see who's getting that next. It could be NBC, which is exciting. So I've been working on signing a couple former Major League Baseball players, and I really like doing that, and that's one really exciting for me, is working with the former athletes who wanted to go into broadcasting. It's tricky with some sports. With NBA, it's very hard to find people, unless they're Carmelo and these guys who are going to make millions. But some of the other guys who made a lot of money don't really want to do regional basketball because it pays such a fraction of what they made as players. But there's a lot of sports where people are ready to jump into broadcasting and don't care what it pays, and it's really cool.
Seth, thanks so much for the time. This has been incredibly insightful.
Michael, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on. I hope that was helpful.
Absolutely. Our guest today in episode 6 has been Seth Mayeri from Napoli Management Group, a part of Paradigm Talent Agency. Thanks so much for watching episode 6 of STAA's Next Level Sportscasting.